can see on the screens there, and all his legitimate successors. Pope Leo, as you can see, is in attendance. There are a number of cardinals, the curial cardinals who reside year-round in Rome. Lots of them are here. And there'll also be Archbishop Edgar Peña Paradi, substitute for General Affairs at the Secretariat of State. That's on the Vatican side, and again on your screens you can see some of the bishops and cardinals that have gathered for today's event. On the Swiss side, there'll be Maya Rinecker, the president of the Swiss National Council, and also Karin Keller-Sutter, who's the president of the Swiss Confederation. So sort of a first among equals among the heads of the various Swiss cantons, I think, but she's essentially the president of Switzerland. I believe that's her that you can see on your screens just at this moment. Yeah, that's Karin Keller-Sutter, the president of Switzerland. And she's here, of course, because all of the members of the Swiss Guard are Swiss citizens. And they come to Rome for a period of minimum 2 years to serve the Pope. Anyway, a very warm welcome to all of you who are watching today, including those of you who are joining us via our Vatican News YouTube channel, our Vatican News website, and our Facebook live feed. And welcome also to those of you joining us via EWTN TV, Catholic Faith Network in America, Sultan Light TV, Shalom World TV, at Madashan TV, and Catholic TV. So we should be about 5 minutes out from the start of the event today. It's scheduled to begin at 5 o'clock sharp. The Swiss being involved, we can imagine it will start very punctually indeed. And as I said, what's happening today is that 27 new recruits are being inducted into the Swiss Guard. We'll start at 5 p.m. with the ringing of bells. There'll be a fanfare, and the Swiss Guards will then enter. There'll be drums and pipes, and it'll be the 27 new recruits who enter. The Pope will then bless the new flag of the Pontifical Swiss Guard. That's its full name, the Pontifical Swiss Guard, because they vowed to defend the Pope and to defend the buildings he lives in. There'll then be a speech by the commander of the Swiss Guard, that's Colonel Christoph Graf, and that'll be delivered in 3 languages, in French, in German, and in Italian. Those are the 3 main languages of Switzerland. And also the three languages spoken by the Swiss Guards here. They're divided into language groups. So after that speech by the commander, there'll be perhaps an introduction and a presentation to the oath, which is to be pronounced by the new recruits. That'll be delivered by the chaplain of the Swiss Guard. He's a Benedictine monk, Father Columban Reichlin. And then the 27 recruits will each individually approach the flag and take the vow. It's a short vow. It's a couple of lines in which they vow to protect the Pope, and also in the case of the sede vacante, also the vacant see, which is if a Pope dies or resigns, they then vow also to protect the cardinals. So they normally protect the Pope. If there is no Pope, then they're there to protect the cardinals. After that, there'll be a concert. There should be, I think, about 3 pieces performed by the Swiss Guard band, and each of those should be introduced in 3 languages. So I think in French, German, and Italian. And then the new recruits will march out, now officially members of the Swiss Guard. So that's the agenda for today's event. We expect it to take about an hour and a half, something like that. You can see that on your screens, again, those of you following via television. Those are the Swiss Guard wearing their very famous Renaissance era uniforms. That's not their everyday wear. They wear those basically for ceremonial occasions. They often wear slightly less flashy blue uniforms with a blue beret. So if you see them and they're working, they're most likely wearing that. But you can spot them, not just for this one day a year. You can see them often around the Vatican wearing those ceremonial uniforms, particularly if they're standing guard somewhere inside the Vatican and not in contact with members of the public all the time. There are about, I think there are 130 Swiss Guards, which makes it one of the smallest armies in the world, and it is the oldest army in the world. It was founded in 1506 officially the oldest army in the world. Sometimes people like to refer to it as the Vatican police force, but that's not quite accurate. The Vatican does have a police force, the Vatican Gendarmerie, which is separate. So the police force and the Swiss Guard are separate things. The Swiss Guard's main job, as I was saying earlier, is to protect the Pope. They protect him while he's in the Vatican, and they also protect him when he travels internationally. So when the Pope goes to a foreign country, his protection will be done by a mixture of the police or security services native to that country, and then also the Swiss Guard who travel with the Pope. And you can hear the bells there, I think, ringing 5 o'clock. So we should be getting started very soon with, as I said, the entrance of the new recruits, the fanfare, and some drums and pipes we're expecting. Again, this is taking place in the San Damaso Courtyard, or the St. Damaso's Courtyard in the Vatican, which is it's the court of honor. It's where foreign leaders or diplomats, ambassadors are often received. And it's a part of the Apostolic Palace, which is this really big. And here now I think the fanfare is about to start. So if you're just joining us, this is the swearing-in ceremony for this year for the 27 new recruits of the Swiss Guard. They're being drummed in now into the St. Damaso's Courtyard in the Vatican, and they're preparing to take the oath, which will officially make them members of the Swiss Guard. So you might have seen a moment ago the Swiss Guard motto on one of those flags there. It said Acrita et Fidelita, or fiercely and faithfully. And just now we have a great view of, as I was saying, those Renaissance era uniforms, which were not designed by Michelangelo, as myth has it. It's about the same time period that Michelangelo was around. They date back, I think, to the early 16th Actually, no, that's not true. So they're in Renaissance style, but the design is basically the work of Jules Répond, who was the commander of the Guard from 1910 to 1921. So a much more recent genesis for those uniforms than lots of people realise. And if you can see those striped colours under there, you can see they're wearing the silver armour over the top, but underneath it they have the red, dark blue and yellow stripes, which are actually the colours of the famous Medici family in Italy. That's where the colour comes from, but again, a much later genesis. They come from the early 20th century, these uniforms. And in fact, just the other day, the Swiss Guard introduced a new uniform, which will not be replacing these. So if you're a fan of the current uniforms, no fear. They won't be used in official contexts like this. They'll be used in formal but non-official contexts. So, for instance, diplomatic dinners, events like that. And they're sort of they're dark blue. They look they've got a sort of 19th century look to them. The new uniforms. I don't think you'll spot anybody wearing them today, unfortunately. But they're dark blue. They've got metallic buttons, and they're not going to be used when the Pope is around. They'll be used for other formal events outside of the Vatican context. And those are unveiled just the other day. So right now, as I said, the Swiss Guard are parading here into the San Damaso Courtyard. And the next event will be the blessing of the flag by Pope Leo, who may also have a few words to share with us on this occasion. We'll see. On the left you can see there the chaplain of the Swiss Guards, the Benedictine monk Colombin Reichlin. He'll later be introducing the vow, which will be read by each of the new recruits. you could hear the orders being given in German. So German is not the first language of all the Swiss Guard. It's the biggest language, but there are also French and a smaller number of Italian speakers. But all the orders are given in German. And so even the Swiss Guards who maybe don't speak much German at all, they at least have to learn the orders in German, because they're never given in any other language. So now we have the inspection of the new recruits. And then, as I said, the blessing of the Swiss Guard flag by Pope Leo. I mentioned that this is a new flag. The reason there's a new flag is because there's a new Pope. And I may actually have made a mistake. It may have been blessed yesterday already. But so the new Swiss Guard flag has been produced because there's a new Pope. It changes every time the Pope changes. So with the Swiss Guard chaplain there, that was also the commander of the Swiss Guard who was carrying out that inspection. And he's now addressing Pope Leo. We can't quite make out the words. The flags you could see around the edges of the courtyard, by the way, if you're curious. Oh, and now we have the speech by the commander of the Swiss Guard. Holy Father, it is for us a great honor and an immense joy to welcome you to the swearing-in ceremony of the new Swiss Guards. 57 years ago, in 1968, with Pope Paul VI, that was the last time that the Holy Father personally attended the swearing-in ceremony. On behalf of the Pontifical Swiss Guard, your Guard, I sincerely thank you for your trust and for your precious and most welcome presence on this memorable occasion. Esteemed guests, I warmly welcome all of you to the Cortile San Damaso, which has been festively decorated with flags of the Swiss cantons. Eminences, excellencies, representatives from politics, society, religion and the military, the delegation from the guest canton of Uri, members of the Swiss Guard, both active and former, as well as friends and benefactors. It is a special honor and joy for me to see you all gathered here. I am especially pleased to experience this moment, which is so important and unforgettable for every Swiss Guard, together with you, dear parents and siblings. Upon the foundation of life that you have helped build, these men have made the decision to join the Guard and to serve here.
Liebe Familien, geben ihnen den nötigen Rückhalt.
You, dear families, provide them with the necessary support. And for that, I would like to thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
Unser aller Hochachtung und Wertschätzung gilt heute besonders euch.
Our deepest respect and appreciation today go especially to you, 27 guardsmen, standing before us in ranks. You have been preparing for this special moment of taking the oath for months. On behalf of everyone, I express our utmost respect to you. Soon you will be called one by the Sergeant Major to approach the Guard's flag. You will loudly pronounce the oath, which will be read to you by our chaplain. I swear to faithfully, loyally, and honorably observe everything that has just been read to me. So help me God and our holy patrons. Holy Father, with this oath, every individual guard commits to serving you with all his strength, and, if the circumstances require, even to sacrifice his own life.
Questi giovani uomini, provenienti da tutta la Svizzera, sono messi fin dal primo anno di servizio davanti alla piena consapevolezza delle responsabilità e dei rischi del loro compito. Nessuno di loro.
These young men from all over Switzerland are confronted from their first year of service with full awareness of the responsibilities and risks of their role. None of them seeks martyrdom, but each solemnly promises to do everything necessary to be ready in the hour of need. They do so with full consideration, seriousness, and never lightly.
Les gardes suivent l'exemple de leurs camarades.
The guards follow the examples of their comrades, those of today as well as those of the past. The courageous testimony of the 189 guards during the sack of Rome in 1527 remains particularly significant for the Corps. At that time, they were faced with a crucial decision: retreat before an overwhelming enemy force, or, in full awareness of the consequences, defend the Holy Father and enable his escape. Their courage and determination were rooted in a deep faith in God. Even today, during the oath ceremony, the guards invoke the strength and help of God to fulfill their service with loyalty and dedication. In this faithfulness to faith and duty, the guards find three great models, three patron saints from whom they draw inspiration. The first is Saint Martin of Tours. A Roman officer, he shared his cloak with a beggar to cover him. Saint Martin shows us that true service is not only a duty toward institutions or superiors, but also and especially toward the weakest, those in need, and all those we meet on our path and in our daily service. We, the Pontifical Swiss Guards, are called to missions of protection and security, which require discipline and rigor. Saint Martin encourages us to live our vocation with dedication and generosity. reminding us that our service to the Holy Father and the Church is, ultimately, a service rendered to Christ and to our brothers.
Le deuxième est Saint Sébastien. Lui aussi était soldat romain au service de l'empereur.
The second is Saint Sebastian. He too was a Roman soldier in the service of the emperor. But as a Christian, he knew that his ultimate loyalty and fidelity were owed to Christ. When the early church was persecuted, he remained faithful to his faith and love for Christ. The consequence was martyrdom. For us, members of the Pontifical Swiss Guard, Saint Sebastian is a very special companion, for he embodied to the very end our motto, to be courageous and faithful. The third patron of the Guard is Saint Nicholas of Flue. He served as a soldier, as a captain, a mountain farmer, a politician, and a judge. Through his mediation, he prevented the violent division of the Swiss Confederates through a fratricidal war, and thus entered history as a great peacemaker. His deep wisdom sprang from the power of faith, prayer, and unshakable trust in God. Especially in today's times, where brutal wars, discord, and unrest shape the world, Brother Klaus is a shining example for us all. His call for peace, echoing through the centuries, is more relevant than ever, and challenges us to seek understanding and live together in peace. And there is one more guiding figure, although he's not a patron saint, but just as important, Saint Francis of Assisi, whose feast we celebrate today. He was one of the greatest models of Christian discipleship. His life shows us that true greatness does not lie in wealth or power, but in humility, simplicity, and love for all creatures. All these examples that we guards take as our models point to the one that we want to follow, Jesus Christ.
Santo Padre, le auguriamo di cuore ogni bene.
Holy Father, we wholeheartedly wish you all the best on your journey, and we assure you at the same time of our sincere loyalty and our prayers. So that was the speech by the Commandant of the Guard, Colonel Christoph Graf. It was read there in 3 languages, in German, in Italian, and in French. And now we have the oath, which will be sworn by each of the new recruits for the Guard, and it may be introduced, we'll see, by the chaplain of the Guard, Father Reichelin, perhaps. So there's 27 new recruits. They have to be Swiss, they have to be male, and Catholics, and they have to, at least when they enter the Guard, they have to be in between the ages of 18 and 30. And now this is Father Reichlin now coming forward to say a few words about the oath. Dear guards, with a public, with this public swearing in, you testify to your willingness to follow Pope Leo XIV and his legitimate successors, and, if necessary, to even give your lives for their protection. We are proud of you, of the guards, that you have reply to the call to this honorable service, which you now swear to carry out faithfully. You swear to serve the popes loyally, Pope Leo XIV and his legitimate successors, and you swear to follow them with all your forces, even sacrificing your lives, if necessary. You also swear to take these, you take this oath to the College of Cardinals if there is no Pope. I also promise respect, faithfulness and obedience to my superiors in the Swiss Guard. I swear it, so help me God and our holy patrons. That was a description of the oath which these 27 new recruits will now each individually take. This is now the Swiss Guard band playing for us. So those were the national anthems of Switzerland and the Vatican. And now the recruits will be called forward to take the oath. So that was not the... I mentioned that the event today would end with a concert. That was not the concert. Those were just the Swiss and Vatican national anthems. And now we have the swearing in of each of the recruits. I believe each of them is going to come to swear individually, so they won't be reading the oath together, but each one taking it in turn. So the oath which the Swiss Guard swear, I'll read the whole thing out in English. They are going to read it in Italian, I believe. But in English the text would be, I swear to serve faithfully, loyally and honourably the Supreme Pontiff Leo XIV and his legitimate successors, as well as to dedicate myself to them with all my strength, sacrificing, if necessary, even my life for their defence. I likewise assume these commitments with regard to the College of Cardinals for as long as the see is vacant. I furthermore promise respect, loyalty and obedience to the commander and my other superiors. I swear it, so help me God and our holy patrons. So actually, I want to correct myself. I said they were taking it in Italian, but here we can hear them taking the oath in German. So that was a text I just read aloud in English, being the oath being made there in German. For those of you following via radio not able to see the images, each of the recruits are coming up. They're placing one hand on the flag and holding the other hand in the air, and they're reciting the oath. Coming up one by one. As I said, 27 of them in total. You can hear there that they're being called up, and the first word there is halberdier, which is it's the entry-level rank in the Swiss Guard. So of course all the new recruits are of that rank. So they're being called up, halberdier, and then their surname, and they're coming up, and they're making this oath. So I said before, there's a pretty intense selection process, partly because the Swiss Guard is so small. The number is 135 of them, and so there are not that many recruits each year. It's a pretty tough process, but here are some of the requirements you need to have. You need to be a practicing Catholic. You need to be a Swiss citizen, of course. You need to be male, so there are no women in the Swiss Guards. You need to be unmarried, at least at the time of joining the corps. You can later get married once you've been there for 5 years. Although to do so, you then have to promise that you'll work in the Swiss Guards for 3 years afterwards. You have to be at least 19 years old, and you can't be older than 30 when you enter. And you can't be too short. I think you have to be about 5 foot 8 inches. You need to be in good health, of course. You need to be fit, and you also undertake a series of medical exams. And there are further medical checkups during training, and there's also a test to assess ability to handle stress. You need to have what they call an impeccable reputation, and you need to have attained at least a high school level of education, have attained your high school diploma. You also need to have completed the Swiss Army basic training. They still have national service in Switzerland. You need to have completed the basic training in the army, and you can't come just for a couple of months. You need to come for at least 26 months. So anyone who joins puts himself down for at least 26 months of service in the Swiss Guards. And lastly, you also need a driving license. You need a Category B Swiss driving license in order to be a Swiss Guard. You can hear there that oath there being taken in French. So I think each of the Swiss Guards is taking it in their native language, so either German, French or Italian. The event today is taking place in the San Damaso Courtyard, as I said. It dates back from the mid 15th century. It was built by Pope Nicholas V, who was Pope from 1447 to 1455. So it's a little bit older than the Swiss Guard, which, as I said earlier, dates back to the very early 16th century. And it's named after Damaso I, who was the 37th Pope, and he reigned from 366 to 384 AD. I was mentioning earlier that this is the Court of Honor of the Apostolic Palace, which is the very large building which holds the Vatican museums as well as the Pope's private residence and lots of the Vatican offices. So it's the Court of Honor, which means that it's where the Pope's official visitors are welcomed. Heads of state and government are welcomed here, also ambassadors and also bishops who come to Rome for their so-called ad limina visits, or their visits every couple of years to Rome to meet with the Pope. Normally, if you've ever seen footage from this courtyard, it's not the Pope who's welcoming these guests, but a curate official or the prefect of the papal household. And it's almost always the setting for the swearing in of the Swiss Guard. Almost always. Apart from when there's very heavy rain, in which case the swearing in is held in the Paul VI Hall in the Vatican. So if you were listening earlier, you heard Pope Leo say that, or rather the commander of the guard say, this is the first time since Pope Paul VI that a Pope has been present for the swearing in of the Swiss Guard. And the Pope also met with the Swiss Guard yesterday, I believe. Yeah, it was yesterday. And he invited them to cultivate their friendship with Christ. So this is part of, there's a few days of festivities around the swearing in of new recruits, and as part of that there was a mass this morning, and yesterday then they had a meeting with the Pope where he blessed the flag. We now know that he blessed that flag beforehand, so he blessed it yesterday rather than during the ceremony today. And yesterday in that meeting with the Swiss Guards, he told them that from the very beginning of my pontificate I have been able to count on your faithful service carried out with great dedication and zeal. He was speaking to them, as I said, just in the run-up to the traditional swearing-in ceremony, and offered what he called his heartfelt gratitude for the commitment and dedication that the Swiss Guards show. He said that the successor of Peter is able to carry out his mission in service to the Church and the world with the assurance that you are watching over his safety. The Pope urged the Swiss Guards to remain faithful to the Gospel and to the fundamental values of the Christian faith, which he said make you baptized believers who are confident in your choices. Each of you, he said, can be a model to the others through your words and your conduct, through your charity and faith, and you can be a sign of unity for the entire Roman Curia. The Pope said that the city of Rome, with its treasures and its wealth, offers the Swiss Guard an unforgettable journey throughout history. He said, a journey not only through the arts but also through the Christian faith, beginning with the earliest witnesses who followed Christ, sometimes even to the point of martyrdom. The Pope urged the new recruits to take advantage of this opportunity to cultivate your inner life in the midst of the frenzy of our society and to deepen your relationship with the Lord. The Pope said that in taking the oath, the new recruits are entering into a new stage of their lives. I encourage you to live this mission with conviction, placing yourselves in the school of Christ, humble and obedient. The Pope said that many of the Swiss Guards will one day return home to Switzerland. It's very few of them that remain in Rome long term. Many of them leave after their mandatory 2 years have finished. And the Pope acknowledged that and said that after having offered good and loyal service to the Holy See, they would have numerous opportunities before them. He said that some of them would continue studies, some would enter the working world, and maybe even some of them would discover a vocation to the priesthood. Whatever their decision, the Pope told the Swiss Guards to remember that their experience in Rome would help them to face future challenges with confidence and with the universal outlook which is proper to every Christian. The Holy Father also described some of the many challenges which faced the generation. Most of the Swiss Guards are very young. Most of them come around the age of 19, 20, 21. And he said that the challenges facing that generation were their environmental issues, economic challenges, social tensions, the digital revolution, artificial intelligence, and other complex realities that he said would require discernment and a sense of responsibility. He said, your time in Rome can help you to develop a deeper maturity even in these areas of social life. And the Pope also urged the new recruits to be witnesses of hope, faithful to the gospel, and propelled by their faith in the Lord. And he brought the address to an end by referencing the Jubilee year, the 2025 Holy Year, which is going on, and saying that in this Holy Year, may you, through your simple witness, be missionaries of hope to the people you encounter. May the flame of hope light your path and give you the courage to take bold steps to contribute together to the civilization of love. So just the last few recruits now coming forward to take the oath. And after they finished with the oath, there'll be a concert performed by the Swiss Guard band, who we heard earlier. This recruit here is making the oath in Italian, so he's one of the quite small number of Swiss citizens who are native Italian speakers, I assume. It's about 8%, I think. So the majority of German speakers, that's upwards of 60%. About 20-25% are French speakers, and then a little bit under 10% are Italian speakers, and they're the three big languages in Switzerland. There's also Romansh, which is also a Latin language, very closely related to Latin, in fact. Some people say it's the existing language closest to Latin of all of them. And the flag has now been raised. That means all 27 recruits have taken their oath to protect the Pope and his successors and the College of Cardinals. And we'll now head towards the final part of today's event, which is a concert performed by the Swiss Guard band. Before that, I wanted to explain, you might have heard earlier the reference to the Swiss Guards who sacrificed their lives. That's a reference to the sack of Rome in 1527, when forces loyal to the Habsburg Emperor Charles V attacked the Vatican. The Pope was able to escape to Castel Sant'Angelo, the Castle of the Holy Angel, because the Swiss Guards stayed behind and fought off the invaders for a while, and the vast majority of the Swiss Guard lost their lives in that moment. So that was the event that was referred to a few times in the speech from the Commandant, the commander of the Swiss Guards. And now, as I said, a concert from the Swiss Guard band. By the way, if you're wondering about the different colours of the feathers on the helmets of the Swiss Guards, the red is the normal colour, and those who have black and orange feathers is because they're a member of the band playing the drums. You can see some of them just there on the left-hand side of the screen. So the drummers have those black and orange feathers, and I think most other guards have the red colour. And now I think we have the concert. Should be a few different songs now performed by the Swiss Guard band. So I don't have the exact names of the songs being performed today. I know that normally they're sort of matches by Swiss composers. They normally do a mixture of traditional marches and newer ones that have been composed a bit more recently. If I can get the names of the songs, I will. I'll let you know. So I said before that they normally play Swiss marches. That, of course, that was a version of Africa by Toto, which is an American rock band. So not quite a Swiss march, but I think they tried to mix in some contemporary music as well as the more traditional stuff. So that's what you heard there. The Swiss Guard band is part of the after-work activities that members of the Swiss Guard can take part in. Some of them bring instruments from Switzerland, or at least they bring expertise, instruments that they grew up playing. Others learn just when they're in Rome. song being played now is called Alpe Rose. It's a song in Swiss dialect, a very successful one from 1985. It's by Polo Hofer and Hannere Ammann, and it's basically the Swiss dialect song that's had the biggest success, the most famous song in Swiss German out there. That's what's being played right now.
Zweites Glied. Aufschluss. Marsch.
So that's the end of the concert phase of the event, and so now I think that the new recruits will be marching toward the exit. We had some quite different songs there. We had a traditional Swiss march, we had some more contemporary Swiss music, and then we also had an American rock song, or at least a song by a rock band, Africa by Toto. And this is Pope Leo. He says, before ending this beautiful ceremony, I'd like to say a word of gratitude. Above all, to God for the gift of life and faith. I'd like to greet all those present, the cardinals, the archbishops, the bishops, the president of the Swiss Federation, and the families of the Swiss Guards, and in a very special way. And I'd also really like to thank all of those who took that oath. It's a very important witness in today's world. It helps us to understand the importance of discipline, of sacrifice, of living our faith in a way that that speaks to our everyday experiences, the value of making sacrifices for other people. And I want to thank you all on behalf of myself, on behalf of the Holy See. May God bless you. May God bless your families, and may God always accompany you. That was a little off-the-cuff speech there from Pope Leo, thanking the Swiss Guards. He also told them that yesterday at the formal meeting he had with them, and they're just reiterating, saying thank you. He also spoke there about the oath that the Swiss Guards taken, saying it's a very important testimony in today's world. And again, as at the beginning of the ceremony, the commander of the Swiss Guard salutes the Pope, exchanges a few words with him. Now the order is given for the new recruits and the band to turn and begin the march out. And as the Swiss Guards now march out of the San Damaso Courtyard, the Pope saying goodbye to the Swiss President, and speaking again briefly with the Commandant of the Swiss Guard. And Pope Leo gets into his car and prepares to drive away. And that brings an end to this live broadcast of the swearing-in ceremony for this year of the Swiss Guard. We saw 27 new recruits take their oath to protect the Pope. It was the first swearing-in ceremony in 57 years that a Pope was present. The last time was in 1968 with Pope Paul VI. And we heard a very long, very beautiful speech from the commander of the Swiss Guard. He said that our deepest respect and appreciation goes to the 27 new guardsmen. He said that they've been preparing for the special moment of taking the oath for months, and he said, on behalf of everyone here, I express our utmost respect to you. He also spoke of the three patron saints of the Swiss Guard, Saint Martin of Tours, Saint Sebastian, and Saint Nicholas of Fleur. And then we had the concert by the Swiss Guard band, a mixture of traditional and some modern music. And if you want to listen back to any part of this event at any time, you can find it on our Vatican News YouTube channel and also on our Vatican News website, where you can also find summaries of everything the Pope has been doing recently. But if it's not up immediately when you go to look, it'll be up in a few hours at the very most. You can find us at www.vaticannews.va. Please do also take a look at our Facebook, X and Instagram pages. Just search Vatican News on your social media of choice. I'm Joseph Tulloch. Thank you very much for tuning in, and please do join us again tomorrow. We have Mass and the Angelus prayer from Pope Leo. We'll bring that to you live from St. Peter's Square. That'll be tomorrow in the morning, Rome time. Until then, until the next time you tune in, thank you very much again. Laudate Jesus Christus. Praised be Jesus Christ.